Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy Ben and JB from JBM Sports Media back with another banger here on YouTube. And as you guys already see, we're doing the New York Jets today season projection from their 2026-2027 season. Obviously, JB being a Jets fan right here, this is going to be a pretty fun one. We have their over-under odd predictions that we're going to do at the end of this video, their additions that they've got, overall how we feel about the state of the Jets and how we honestly have their honest outlook for this year. And yeah, we're gonna keep it a buck. I know JB is gonna have some very kind words about what he thinks for the Jets. But let's talk about their additions that they did have in the offseason right here. And JB, if you want to go over them real quick, by all means.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, you got to give on paper, you got to give a tip of the hat to Darren Muji. He did a great job trying to really put his his fingerprint on this roster, and I'll give him credit. He did a really good job. He goes out and gets as much as a stable veteran quarterback as you could possibly get. I mean, I know it's not a long-term option. It's maybe a 1 or 2 year option, the most, in a guy like Geno, And then they do go out and they get Minka Fitzpatrick. They sign him to a 3-year deal, which I thought was nice. They solidify, the back end of that defense there in the safety position. Then they go out and get Demario Davis. That was nice. They went down and got Tavondre Sweat. And then in the draft, I thought they did really well, bro. I mean, I don't know. I thought this was a really good draft for them, and not for nothing, it's really a breath of fresh air to see how this team could look in the next couple of years, and if they could be a possible playoff contender in the AFC. I mean, Kenyon Sadiq is somebody that I don't think a lot of teams would have liked to pass on. I think if they were in a position to get this guy, they would have. And the fact that he went to the Jets makes me feel really good. I think Frank Reich is going to have a nice little time. We're trying to draw us, up some plays for this kid on the offensive side of the ball. Then you got David Bailey, which obviously was their first pick, and Omar Cooper Jr., which is a nice little piece on the offensive side again that they could add for a guy like Geno to have. So, listen, is it something that you want to look at and say it's definitely promising? Yeah, you could absolutely say that. Is it 2 or 3 years away? I don't know. That's the big key. How good is this team going to be? How good is this defense going to be? That's the other key. And can the Jets offense score? They have to keep their defense off the field. They have to have long drives, sustainable drives, and try to keep themselves in ball games. And they're going to have to involve Breece Hall in that. He's going to have to run the football. I want to see them be able to run the football and really go back to that pound and that ground and pound that they had under Rex Ryan. And that was when they were the best, is when they played hard-nosed defense and they ran the football. And if they could run the football, it's going to take a lot of pressure off of Geno. And that goes for any quarterback in the NFL. When you have other guys around you that can make plays, it's just going to make your job easier. So hopefully the Jets could actually get to that point. I just don't know if playoffs are in their future just yet.
Yeah, that's super fair. I think the Fitzpatrick trade and then signing was actually a very good move for them in the offseason. I was a big fan. Obviously, Kingsley Enagbare, former Packer as well. I mean, that was one guy I really didn't want to see go, but it kind of made sense why the Packers had basically not offered him more than a 1-year, $10 million contract. But I think that guy's going to be a stud for you guys. Nahshon Wright, who had a great year with the Chicago Bears, I do remember. He basically had a big year when it came to takeaways. Another guy was pretty, saying like that's a good pickup was Joseph Osai.
Joseph Osai, yeah. I actually forgot to mention him. Yes,
that was a good pickup. 3-year deal right there. Yeah, free agency wise, they spent a decent amount and they brought in some very good talent. I thought the Tavondre Sweat trade was basically an even swap, honestly. I think the Titans got what they wanted from that one, and obviously the Jets got what they wanted from that one. Everything else, I thought it was a pretty good offseason. I mean, we'll go back and look at the draft real quick and their offseason moves when it came to the NFL draft. Getting David Bailey was the big one. I remember David Bailey in that Orange Bowl game against the Oregon Ducks. He was honestly their best player on the field, even though they did get shut out. Like, he was doing everything he could to get those guys amped up and keep them in the game. I think he's going to be a great player. Maybe I would have to say this really has the perfect quote right here: the most pro-ready pass rusher in the 2026 class. I think that is the perfect way to describe David Bailey. I think he's going to make immediate impact compared to maybe guys like Arvell Reese and other edge rushers like that. Kenyon Sadiq, talk about Oregon right there. This is a guy, whoever he went to, was going to fulfill their tight end one position right off the bat. I mean, this guy is a stud. even though I did see that he got a little bit banged up in training camp, I did see, but
Hmm.
hopefully it's nothing serious. If it's nothing serious, then he'll be ready to go week 1. I did like that. And we have a national champion as well being added to the Jets. Omar Cooper Jr. winning the Natty right there with Indiana. Big reason they won as well. They also got, for one guy that I wanted the Packers to get a lot in the later rounds, was D'Angelo Ponce. He's a very good cornerback that I do feel like is going to be like cornerback 2 right there for the New York Jets. So that was a good one. Darrell Jackson Jr., defensive tackle from Florida State. So if there's one thing you could say about the Jets in the draft, is that they deserved a big W from it, because they nailed it. They nailed it in the best way possible. They didn't jet themselves out of a good draft. Let's just put it like that. But I'll go real quick to talking about the Jets before we go into, talking about their over under win total to wrap up the video. It's, to me, where they were last year with guys like Justin Fields starting, who had a really good first game and then just completely went and did abysmal. Then you had Tyrod Taylor, who had some moments, but really just moments. And then it was at the end where Brady Cook was starting. And I mean, at that point in the season, it was horrible, right?
I mean, it was unwatchable football. It was it went from unwatchable football to like not even wanting to put the TV on. That's how bad the games were. It was brutal.
Yeah, and then the only bright spot about the Jets this past year, I guess, is, I mean, two things really. Brees Hall, the year he had, a very career year for him, and then the fact that they did fleece the Colts for in that Sauce Gardner trade. They fleeced them big time, and they got themselves a better draft right there. And I think that's only going to help them in their future even more, because I think they got 2 first-round picks, and in the second round, they were able to do some damage from that Quinnen Williams trade as well. So, look, I think the Jets are in a good position to where they're heading. Now, as we talk about their win total in a second, I will say this. The big guy, obviously, to talk about right here is Aaron Glenn, right? What will we see from him in this year 2 with him leading the New York Jets? A lot of people preferred, even JV was one of them, that this guy might not even make the cut to coach them for year 2. But he's here, and how is he going to deal with that? I mean, what do you think about Aaron Glenn as he heads to year 2 of coaching the Jets?
Look, I know he's got the fire. I know he's got the passion, and I know that the players actually resonate with him. They think he's a really good leader and motivator, and that's all great. But if you're making some bad decisions, that are going to affect the organization, and his in play coaching was horrible last year. I don't care what anybody says. If you're a first year coach, 10 years in the business, I don't care. That was brutal. He's got to be better than that. I know it's his first time ever having a head coach position, but he was also on the sidelines in other organizations, like in Detroit. You know the game. You're an NFL player. You know the game. You should have some type of feel for the game. And there were a lot of things that he dropped the ball on, and one of those things was time management. He was brutal last year in time management. There were a lot of points of certain games where he just dropped the ball. I remember there was a game, I forgot exactly who they were playing, but there was like 32 seconds left in the second quarter, and instead of trying to drive and potentially get a field goal, because they were almost in field goal range, he decides to kneel it and just run to the locker room instead of not even giving a chance to his quarterback to make some plays and get in field goal range. And he heard a lot of boost for that. That was just one mistake out of 50 that I can't remember off the top of my head. But there were a lot of blunders, especially with time management, and you have to be able to control the clock. And now that they have a veteran quarterback, hopefully their quarterback could, Gino. Hopefully Gino could, obviously do that better than his coach and take some pressure off of Glenn. But Glenn has to be a guy that knows what is going on. He's got to be the guy that pulls in the reins and has everything under control, especially with all this young talent now that we drafted. You want to be a good impact on those guys, and if it's just going to be losing, if the losing season, that's going to be hard to teach. What you're saying, and what you're saying is you want to bring back this winning culture of hard-nosed football. But if that's not going to get done, what are you going to lean on then? And then I think that's where he'll get fired. So this to me is a really big year for Aaron Glenn moving forward. To be honest with you.
I agree. I think it's either make or break. We're going to see what happens with him, because the pieces are now in place for him to at least try to succeed. If that happens for him, it will, and he'll keep his job. If not, he's most likely gone. If the Jets start off to a very rocky start, yeah, he's probably gone pretty early in the year, I would have to say. But we'll see. And now it is a perfect segue to our win total prediction via BetMGM. Shout out them for this one right here. It's 5.5, just like the Raiders in the previous video. If you guys went to go check that out, if not, go check it out right now. And it's pretty split right here. I ain't gonna lie, it's pretty split. JB, be honest. I'll let you go first. Who do you have, or what do you have? Over, under
So
when it comes to 5.5?
I actually have them going 6-11, and the only reason why I'm saying that is because I do think they're gonna sweep Miami, and I do think that they have the ability to split against Buffalo and New England, go 1-1 against those teams. So right there would be 4 wins, and hopefully they could sneak in 2 wins some other way, throughout the year. So I do see that happening. I think not to get into Miami, but I think Miami is going to be a pretty a putrid football team, and the Jets should be able to beat them two games this year. So, like I said, if they could win 4 games, between them sweeping Miami, getting 1-1 against Buffalo and New England, I think they'll win 6 games if everything can go right. Imagine saying everything can go right and being 6-11. That's how bad the organization's been. But I do think this team will win 6 games.
I don't mind that prediction at all. Actually, I have them going over as well. I have them going over. I think 6 wins is good. I was even thinking of stretching it for 7 potentially. And you know what? I think I'll go 7 wins. I'll go 7 wins. 7-10. I think I'll go for the Jets because I did see things that I really like this offseason, whether it was the draft, free agency acquisitions that they did get. I think they're on the road to the right direction. Even though I don't feel like they're going to make the playoffs this year, I do believe that Aaron Glenn won't be the coach whenever they do make the playoffs next time. I think he's more so like of a stepping stone type of coach. He's going to try to make sure that the culture gets revamped, but I do feel like 7 wins is very reasonable for the Jets this year. Obviously, what do you think about that?
No, listen, there was a couple of I don't know if they were like, I forgot if it was like TikTok lives or maybe that the NFL parries that you were doing. Maybe I jumped in and said that the Jets are going to go 7-10. The only reason why I'm saying 6-11 is because they'll probably lose a game where they probably should have won, and that'll affect their win-loss record moving forward. But like I said, I'm confident in the fact that they should be able to sweep Miami and split a game with Buffalo and New England. I think they could beat Buffalo at home and New England at home and then lose on the road. I think that's something that's very, very viable and something that could potentially happen. But I will say this. It's funny how Rex Ryan is still hanging around the locker room and he's there to be a motivational speaker. I think he's just chomping at the bit. If Glenn gets fired, he's going to want that job. I know he wants it. I know he went for it before Glenn got hired. It's just funny how they brought him in to kind of, resonate with the players and kind of, build a reputation of how Jets football is supposed to be. And, he was the last winning coach that we had that got us to the playoffs. So, yeah, he's there to be a motivational type of guy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's lobbying himself for that job right now. But, yeah, I see the Jets winning 6 games, hopefully, and hopefully there's some more positives with these young players that we got, more than negative, hopefully.
Yeah, I think best case scenario for me, like I said, 7 wins. But yeah, it's the Jets. It's going to be a very interesting year because I think I'm very. I mean, for me, Aaron Glenn has a thin leash, like I already said, but it's just there's talent there, and it's whether they're going to produce or not behind him. And whether that's the case early on in the year, or maybe they get into a little bit of a, they start potentially like 2-3 or 3-2, even then, I think they're going to be all right. But if they start off like 1-4 or 1-5, then
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
bro,
wrap.
yeah, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It just depends how they start off. Really, really, it really does. But let us know what you guys think about the New York Jets in 2026, 2027. Obviously, we're going to continue predicting the rest of the teams and their season projections. So stay tuned for that if your team hasn't been already chosen. Check out our Raiders one if you guys haven't. I mean, bro, the content we do here is fucking phenomenal. So check that out. Hit that like button. Until next time, we'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Later, guys.